So quite often applicants will mention a specific academic interest, and there are lots of different specialties within medicine and lots of different research areas within academic medicine. It doesn't necessarily matter what area you mention, but I do think it's important to have some academic interest and to show an awareness of the current academic field of medicine overall. So the approach to this is, if you mentioned any particular academic interests on your personal statement, that needs to be the focus of your reading around medicine in general. You can use a combination of academic journals, internet resources such as Wikipedia. The quality of the information and the reliability of medical information on Wikipedia has increased significantly over the years. Other resources such as books can also be useful as well. Any sort of non-fiction medical textbook is absolutely fine as well. You should have a relatively good understanding of the fundamental aspects of at least 3 different research areas within medicine to bring out on the interview day. And by a good understanding, I mean you can talk about it non-stop for about 5 to 10 minutes if necessary. As we mentioned earlier, you want to use lots of different resources, student BMJ, books, internet resources that have academic journals on them. There's been definitely a big increase in the importance of Twitter over the years. So following any academics on Twitter and having a look at their most recent work, quite often they'll put links into their academic publications. Sometimes reading the news can be quite good, and even better if they link to the original research. It can be a bit dense and a bit difficult to read full-on academic journals in medicine if you're not used to it. You can have a go at reading those, but reading books and reading, say, the student BMJ or even the regular BMJ or other journals is also a good option. If, for example, as we mentioned earlier, you have mentioned one of your academic interests on your personal statement, it's quite likely that it could come up in the interview, so be prepared to answer questions about that. And it's also reasonable for interviewers to ask you what your interests in medicine are and if you've read anything interesting in the news recently about medicine. So keeping an open eye on the current news in the healthcare industry and having a look at any new developments is very important. You want to be looking at the news in the preceding sort of weeks to months before the interview happens. When you get asked about any interest in academic medicine, then you want to make sure that you know what you're talking about. So you want to make sure that you've done your research, and when you are asked about it, that you are talking about the area that you're interested in reasonable and measured terms. Don't try and use terminology that you saw written down and you don't entirely understand. If you read a word in the healthcare research news that you don't understand, then go and look it up. Roughly speaking, when it comes to answering questions around your academic interests, you just want to make sure that you've done a reasonable amount of research, you've kept up to date with the current hot topics that are going on, and that you are able to talk about whatever your interest is for an extended period of time.